As the fighting grinds on and on, Ukrainians are bracing for winter under historically harsh conditions. In recent weeks, water systems and energy plants have been the focus of Russian missiles and exploding drones. The collapse of infrastructure puts millions of people at risk of losing access to power, water, even shelter.
Joining us on the KOGO News Live Line is the CEO of Abundance International. It's a nonprofit dedicated to bringing life-giving support to the orphans in Ukraine. Markham Davis joining us on the KOGO News Live Line. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for letting us share some of these stories.
Well, we want to hear them, but what I want to ask you is, can Russia actually break the resolve of the Ukrainian people by basically freezing them out?
The issue of military resolve, politics, I get asked, it's not really my realm. I lived there for 10 years. I just say from my experience, I don't think there's anything that ever break the ultimate will of these Ukrainians. They're amazingly resilient people. They're on my side, where I deal with the orphans, I just find the care and the giving. One time we were going to the hospital just to help get some pharmaceutical stuff we needed, and the military was there. They heard we're the orphanage. They went and gave us 200 pounds of potatoes out of their own rations to help for our kids. And these are stories you don't hear very often. All I know is we don't have a choice but to deal with what is, embrace it, and then just do the best we can to make sure these kids not only survive, but we're trying to create as much normalcy as possible.
Let's talk a little bit about the orphans in Ukraine. Do we have any estimates on how many there are due to this war?
That's a good question. I get this asked a lot. It's like, has the count of orphans gone up because parents are now dead because of the war? There may be a couple of thousand across the country. It's not as big as you would think, because most of the time, even if both parents are dead, it's a very family-centric culture. There's usually a mother, father, grandmother, grandfather there to care for the family, and even uncles or aunts would immediately take care of responsibility for a child that was orphaned because if parents were killed in the war. But the issue we're dealing with is there are 146 orphanages in the country because they don't really have a foster care system. With over 22,000 orphans among those that I'm aware of, we're covering about 10% of that. And most of them did not get out of the country and can't for many reasons. All we've done is move them from closer to heavy war fighting to more central, safer areas, and now those are overcrowded. So at AbundanceInternational.org, our focus is taking care of those kids who couldn't get out and still working within that system, even some behind enemy lines.
So how do you actually do that?
There's many stories, and every one is unique, and thank you for asking that. I'm sorry to laugh, but my mind erases that. That's a whole conversation. Let me break it down very quickly for you, though. We traveled across the country until really the fuel. This is the other issue that hasn't come up. Is I was in Lviv when they blew up the main fuel depot, so gas became short, and so traveling wasn't as easy. So what we did is contact people up across the country at our orphanages. We could send them the money. They'd send us receipt pictures of the kids and all the stuff they bought for accountability. But we basically set up a remote network so they can get it close to them. Now, the hard part has been in the Russian-controlled area. Because the Ukrainians can't help these kids anymore, the stores are ransacked by the Russians, and a lot of the pharmacies are closed down. So we've had to use we've had our network out there creating systems of support, even down to families who had little gardens in their backyard, butchers, farmers, fishermen, to actually create our own food network down there to make sure these kids are taken care of. And by the grace of God, so far we've been able to do that. I'm just astounded by the creativity and the resilience to make sure these kids are taken care of as a priority. We just love them so much and miss the days when we can just snuggle with them and have them sit on our laps.
Well, we are looking forward to hearing more from you as this unfortunately goes on. CEO of Abundance International, Marcum Davis, with us here on the KOGO News Live Line. Really quickly, what is your website? So if people want to support it, they can go there.
I appreciate that. AbundanceInternational.org, simply AbundanceInternational.org. Please look at the photos, donate what you can. You'll get updates on what we're doing on a regular basis. And I'd love to come back and share the stories because winter is coming. We've already started buying coal, and many stories will happen. And I love that part of the country. I lived there for a while, and I love you KOGO followers. So thank you for your love and your support for this holiday time.
Thank you so much.